Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Our today's topic of discussion is photosynthesis. But before you know what is photosynthesis, you must know what is bioenergetics, okay? Bioenergetics is the quantitative study of energy relationship and conversion of energy in biological system. Energy relationships and conversions of energy, right? Now what this mean is like for example we have light energy, and plants are the organisms that convert that light energy into chemical energy and store that in form of sugars so that other organisms like animals, humans can use that, okay? Now, second point is all organisms use solar energy directly or indirectly. For example, plants use that solar energy directly to be converted into chemical energy, whereas animals use that indirectly as they get the chemical energy from plants by eating plants, which itself is produced because of solar energy. So it is indirect use of solar energy, but there is a use of solar energy. Plants convert that light energy, as I have told you already, that light energy is converted into chemical energy by plants, which is stored in organic compounds like sugars, carbs, okay? Then we have here, it is a chart, okay? In this here we have producers, which are the plants, which produce energy which is consumed by consumers and decomposers also, and use them as the source of energy. Here you can see that there is sun which is giving off light energy. There are various nuclear fusion reactions occurring in the sun, due to which energy is produced in the sun, and that energy is traveling towards the earth in the form of light, and that light energy is taken up by plants and converted into chemical energy and stored in the form of carbs. Now we all say that energy is stored in the form of carbs. What does it mean exactly? It exactly means that there are specific bonds in the compounds that are energy rich bonds, and due to the breaking down of those bonds, energy is released. In this way, energy is stored in the form of organic compounds. Now animals use these plants, the carbs are broken down in animals, and that energy is released, which they use for their further processes like protein synthesis or for cell divisions or other cellular processes requiring energy, right? For example, here it is written like chemical work they have to perform, mechanical work, muscle contraction also need ATPs, and active transport which is occurring all over the body also need ATP. So for all these processes animals need energy which they gain from plants. Now we have the topic of photosynthesis. Now what is photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is a process in which plants or algae, basically photosynthetic organisms, convert light energy into chemical energy and store it in sugars and other organic compounds. Basically it is the conversion of inorganic substances into organic ones which are energy rich. This energy is then made available for further cellular processes for plants themselves and also for other organisms. Respiration is the process that is responsible for the use of that energy produced in photosynthesis, so that that can be used by other organisms. Respiration releases this energy in a very controlled manner. Now you have to understand two terms, basically anabolic and, sorry, by mistake here it should be catabolic, right? Catabolic term. Photosynthesis is an anabolic process, whereas respiration is catabolic process. Anabolic process is a process in which different inorganic substances are combined and an energy rich substance or organic substance is produced, that is carbohydrates are produced. Whereas respiration is the opposite of anabolic process, in which that those carbohydrates are taken up and are broken down into smaller substances so that energy can be released. This type of process is the catabolic process. Now moving ahead, we have reactants required for the photosynthesis, right? Now photosynthesis require water and carbon dioxide, light energy, pigments, which include all these things, right? But we have to know that from where all these things are coming, because it can be sometimes very tricky to solve in MCQs, right? Now, firstly, water. From where water is coming? Water is coming in the plants through roots. Like the plants are present and their roots are in the soil, they absorb water from the roots, and that is taken up by them through xylem, and water reaches the leaves. From this way, water is present in the leaves and is made available for photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide is reaching the leaves through stomata. Leaves are having small pores called as stomata, through which carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere is taken up by them, right? Light energy is coming from the sun, as we have talked about it already. Now, pigments are present in the leaves or in other green parts of the plants. For example, chlorophyll is present in green parts of the plant. Carotenoids and phycobilins are present in algae. Carotenoids are also present in plants. These pigments are present in specific structures or organelles present in the leaf cells or stem cells also, but mostly in the leaf cell, that is in greater amount in the leaf cells. Chlorophyll and carotenoid, these are present in the chloroplast, right? Then moving on the next point, overall equation, if we see, of photosynthesis is this, which you can see on the screen, right? We have carbon dioxide coming from the air, water from roots, leaves, light from sun, and these all are combined to form carb, that is the glucose or the energy source. Water is also produced as a byproduct, and this oxygen is that oxygen which is released in the atmosphere and which we are using for our respiration. Photosynthesis is basically a redox reaction, that is reduction and oxidation occurs in this process. As you can see, this carbon dioxide is converted into glucose. This is a reduction, right? Because there is, you can say, addition of hydrogen or gain of electrons, so this is a reduction. And here water is losing its hydrogen, and loss of hydrogen is called as the reduction.
Oxidation.
Or loss of electrons is called as the
Oxidation.
reduction. This oxygen is coming from water, not from carbon dioxide, which we will be discussing in detail in next slides, right? Sources of reactants. What are the sources of reactants? As we have already discussed it, we have different reactants like carbon dioxide coming from the air, water coming from the roots, light from the solar energy or sun, and pigments required for photosynthesis are present in the chloroplast, right? Now we have to consider a hypothesis called as the Neal's hypothesis, which explains that oxygen released in the air by plants is the oxygen present with water, not oxygen present with carbon dioxide. That is, he came to this statement based on his investigations on photosynthesis in bacteria that make carbohydrates from carbon dioxide but do not release oxygen. That is, bacteria make their carbohydrates from carbon dioxide and they do not release oxygen, right? But it means that if oxygen coming in the air is the oxygen which is present with the carbon forming the carbon dioxide, then it must release carbon dioxide because bacteria are also using carbon dioxide, but it is not released by bacteria because they are using only carbon dioxide, right? That oxygen is coming from water, that is, the plants split water for having hydrogen to be used in the carbohydrate making, and oxygen is released as it is of no use for the plants. So we can conclude that source of oxygen released in the air is water, not carbon dioxide. It is the point to be noted, very important point, right? So that in Neal's hypothesis we can say that oxygen released in the air is coming from water, not from carbon dioxide. Okay, so moving on to the next point, we have the experiment that confirmed the Neal's hypothesis. What was that experiment? That experiment was that two groups of plants were taken. For example, we take plant group A and group B, right? And oxygen 18 isotope was taken. This oxygen 18 isotope was combined with hydrogen and carbon, and we have water having this heavy isotope and carbon dioxide having this heavy isotope. Now in plant group A, we gave normal carbon dioxide, but water having heavy oxygen, that is O18 oxygen, is given to group A plants. And in group B plants, carbon dioxide having heavy oxygen was given, whereas the oxygen present in water was normal, right? As the both plant groups released oxygen, it was noticed that the plant group A, which was having oxygen 18, released oxygen in the air, which was also a heavy isotope, not the normal O16, whereas the B group plants released oxygen which was normal oxygen, that is O16, which was present in water. It means that the oxygen released in the air comes from water, not from carbon dioxide, right? Because in A group plants, in which water was having O18, released O18, but in group B plants, water was having O16, they released normal isotope, normal oxygen, O16 oxygen, right? This confirms that oxygen released in the air comes from water, not from carbon dioxide, right? Moving on to the next part, we have fate of products. This is very important to know what is the fate of products produced in photosynthesis, right? Now, what products are produced in photosynthesis? First of all, we have glucose. Basically, glucose is made or is stored in plants and can be used for further energy requiring processes by breaking it down. Water is produced as a byproduct, but if we see the overall equation, we needed 12 water molecules, and in the product side we had 6 water molecules. See, here it is. If we see this equation of, if we see the net results, we will have 6 carbon dioxide, 6 water molecules on the reactant side, light, glucose and oxygen. These 6 water molecules in the net reaction are not produced, right? Oxygen, now we have oxygen also produced as a product of photosynthesis. That oxygen, we all know that, is released in the air. That oxygen is released in the air. There are two reactions, basically light reaction and dark reaction in photosynthesis, which we'll discuss in upcoming videos. Light reaction is a reaction which requires light, that is, it is necessary for the light reaction that light is present, whereas the dark reaction is the one which does not require light. It can occur in the absence of light, but it needs the product which are produced in the light reaction, and those products are ATP and NADPH. Okay, these two products, NADPH2, these two products are produced in light reaction and are required for the production of this glucose by dark reaction, right? So these are the basically fate of products of photosynthesis. Now, before moving ahead, you must know that there is a point called as the compensation point. It is a point when respiration is equals to photosynthesis. It can occur at the time of dawn or dusk, that is early in the morning or just before the night. Compensation point means that, for example, when, listen, let's take it like this, that when in the daylight there is increased intensity of light, photosynthesis, rate of photosynthesis is very much higher than respiration, right? And much oxygen is produced by photosynthesis, which is not required by the plants, as it was more than enough for respiration. So the extra oxygen is released into the air because it was not required by plants, right? And in the night time, when there is decreased rate of photosynthesis, or overall no photosynthesis is there, at that time rate of respiration is higher than photosynthesis, and the oxygen present in the air is taken up by the plants so that their respiratory processes can occur. But at the time of dawn and the dusk, where there is a low intensity of light, photosynthesis produces exactly the amount of oxygen required for the respiration of plants, right? Understood? Photosynthesis produces oxygen in an amount exactly required for the process of respiration in plants at the low intensity of light, that is at dawn and dusk. That point is called as the compensation point. As the intensity of light increases, photosynthesis increases and it requires more carbon dioxide, which is taken up by the air. But respiration is not enough for that. So uptake of carbon dioxide and oxygen produced is more than the need of respiratory cells. So oxygen is released into the air at the times where intensity of light is higher. Have you got it? It means that when light intensity increases, photosynthesis increases and uptake of carbon dioxide also increases and oxygen production also increases. And this oxygen production, which is in greater quantities, is not required by respiration, as it is more than the need of respiration, so it is released in the air. But at the time of dawn and the dusk, this respiration needs oxygen in an amount which is exactly produced by photosynthesis at that time. Thus no oxygen is basically released in the air at that time, and respiration and photosynthesis are equal to one another. This point is called as the compensation point, right? Then we have the next topic, chloroplast, which we will discuss in the later videos, right? So thanks for watching and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.